Hey, welcome to Strictly Ball Business. I'm Alec. This is Dalton. We're here to talk about the latest and greatest in the National Basketball Association, baby. And lately, we have been just astounded by hidden gem Ayo Dosunmu. I'm pronouncing that correct, I believe. And in this episode, we're going to talk about him, just giving him a break, give you guys a breakdown of what he's like as a player and a guy. And then we'll also give a playoff preview of the Memphis Grizzlies, a team who has just blown us out of the water this year. And the Brooklyn Nets recently add Goran Dragic. What does that mean for them? We'll also talk about if the Knicks will make the playoffs or not. And we'll also discuss, lastly, who are the best under-the-radar big men in the league. So first off, we're talking about one of the best hidden gems in the league. One of the best hidden gems in the league, baby. It's Ayo Dosunmu from the Chicago Bulls. He's a rookie. He was picked 38th in this league, a second-round pick for hell's sake. And guess what? He's homegrown. He's from the University of Illinois. They had, they were the number one seed in the tournament last year. And here he goes, gets an opportunity to get drafted by the Chicago Bulls. Doesn't have to go anywhere far. So I know you got tons of great things to say about him. Let's hear it, man.
Yeah, I mean, just his role in the NBA. So, of course, he reminds me a lot of, not in his play style, but like in his trajectory, just like Jalen Brunson, because I followed him a lot when he was in college. He went to Villanova, went to the championship that year. And he came out, he was a second-round pick. And I knew at the time, I was like, he's a great player. He's obviously better than a second-round pick. And now he's, probably top 15 in that draft class now.
Yeah, I mean, he's instantly come in and been able to be a solid starter for them when they have needed a guy because of injuries to Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso. It's crazy. I don't know how old he is exactly. I can't remember. But 11 points per game, 7 assists. He's only got 2 turnovers is what's great with that per game. And the decisiveness with him is amazing. He knows how to catch a guy as he's going out for a 3 out in the corner. And he knows how to play the pick and roll excellently with Nikola Vucevic as well.
Yeah. And that's huge because that's a major part of their offense. When you have a scoring option that is your big, like Nikola Vucevic, who can fade or he can roll. You need to have somebody who's able to run it, and especially Lonzo's a pretty injury typical type guy. So to have a backup point guard like him, especially when Caruso's out too, and Zach LaVine has missed a lot of time. They've needed that depth because that's been that's the major concern for the Bull. One of the major concerns is their depth and injuries and how if they can stay healthy for the playoffs. And he's really showing,
and they're clearly doing a good job. Yeah, I mean their depth is clearly showing now because they needed it.
Yeah. And shooting splits of 52, 40, 67. Obviously, those are all great, except for, 67 for free throw as a point guard that's pretty troublesome. However, he's shooting 40. I'd like to see him put up more threes. I mean, he's only putting up 2.3 a game, and he's shooting 40%. Like, I'd like to see him try more threes, get more plays. Yeah. But, he was just kind of thrown into this role. I think the major step in was during that whole Omicron push that happened to the NBA. I think that's when he's really come out and people have seen him as the player he is now. So
yeah, man. I mean, he prefers to score inside, no doubt. Like he's a driver. I've seen his jab step from the 3 to get guys to get off him a little bit. And then he'll take it right in for a nice layup, or even every now and then he started to pull it up from mid-range and as he's driving in. And I wish he would do that more, to be honest, because I think he's going to learn a great deal from DeMar DeRozan in being able to do some moves like that inside.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Speaking of DeMar, he plays great off of DeMar too. With a lot of his threes is such a high percentage is because of DeMar and playing with LaVine and off ball. And even Nikola Vucevic is a really nice playmaker for a center, especially the size he is and how not as athletic he is. That doesn't affect passing, however, but 98% of his threes are assisted for Ayo. So he doesn't take any off ball, and 50% of those are coming from the corner.
But I think it makes sense because he's a rookie and he's not going to overplay his hand and try to do ISO ball. He knows, like, how many better players are in front of him there. He's being humble. He's not, he's
Right.
catching it off the pass and being open because guys got him open. And, he's doing a good job in the pick and pop game, being able to get out there after giving it to a guy like Vucevic. So I
Oh yeah.
think, yeah, I mean, he's a very smart player, no doubt.
Oh yeah, he does. And if I mean, looking at the advanced numbers, it shows that he's a negative player. But I mean, it's just advanced. It's a very small target. That was for the whole season. So he had sprinkles of minutes here and there. I don't think that's fair to attribute to how he actually plays. If you watch it, he's definitely a plus on for everything
Oh,
he
yeah.
does. He's not like the most outstanding defender, but he doesn't look like a total liability out on the floor. Like
No, no doubt. I mean, he's
looks within
active.
it. Yeah. Yeah,
He's
active hands.
very
That's all you
active.
need. I mean, that's
Yeah,
not
I
all you
mean,
need, but that,
he
at
gets the
this point,
fast break going. He's a great on-ball defender, from what I've seen, and he's got decent instincts off ball. Like, he had this one instance where the shot clock was going down with James Harden, and they knew they he had to get the ball out of his hands or something, so he went and trapped him, and he couldn't get the shot off. But it's just like instincts for a rookie that you wouldn't expect to see. But obviously, being around guys like DeMar and Lonzo and Billy Donovan,
Caruso.
I think is a great coach. Yeah, yeah, Alex Caruso. I think being around all these guys is just helped out a lot. And obviously, he was a great player coming into it because he was on a great college team. He was their starting point guard there, and I think he definitely got underlooked coming into here, but his defense, I think he's got good instincts there, and it's just continually going to get better as he's around good influences in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And the role he stepped into, like I said, with all these injuries going on, I think he plays a huge role. Now, going forward, saying, let's look at it as the team as everyone's fully healthy, say Lonzo's back, Caruso's back. I mean, it kind of takes it's going to come down to him and Kobe White. So it's what the front office thinks they can make. I mean, they could probably get more assets. I don't think he's going to get traded. I think you keep him. I don't think Kobe White. Not that he's a bad. I know you're not a huge fan. I still see all the potential. I just not on this team anymore. I think they can
Yeah, I
get some
mean,
assets back for Kobe White that would help
yeah,
them
I mean,
now.
at this point, it's his third season for Kobe White, right? Is it his third or fourth? It
He
might
was
even be
drafted
his
with Cam Johnson and Jarrett Culver, so this is
third.
third.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So it's his third season. I mean, I think after this season, you kind of know what you've got with him, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, he's shown
So,
that all that flash like 2 years ago in the second half of the season. He was like on a roll with 30 points per game. He was doing really well. It's just I just then they got made the Vucevic trade, and then the roster's been changing around him. I think him going to a place, I honestly think like a place like the Knicks, they would love to have him, and I think you can get something back for Knicks from the Knicks. I can't think of the asset right now, but that's just the first team that comes to mind that would like a Kobe White, and you could certainly get good people. Like I mean, maybe you can get a vet like Taj Gibson back. Now, I think he's way past his prime of being. I think he'd be a good veteran off the bench. However, I don't think that's what I think they can get a lot more than Taj Gibson back for Kobe White. But that's just an example.
all right, we're going to do a playoff preview of the Memphis Grizzlies now, who are 41 and 19, third in the Western Conference, and have totally blown expectations out of the water here. I mean, where do we even start with these guys, man?
I mean, I think you got to start with obviously this. All the success is just led by the MVP type season from Ja Morant. This guy's going crazy. He's exceeded all expectations, and it's crazy that before the draft, he became relevant 3-4 months right before the draft. Like nobody was looking at him
Yeah,
until
small
he just came out
college,
of
Murray
nowhere.
State, like he had a great season at Murray State, and he had a good time in the college tournament, made it a couple games in, but like other than that, no one knew who he was hardly on like the general scale, national scale at least,
Yeah.
comparatively to his counterpart. Like he wasn't getting any attention.
Oh yeah. No, and now he's just come out and he's top 3 point guard in the league. This him, Steph Curry, and Chris Paul. I mean, who else is in that conversation this season, right? And that's crazy for a guy in his fourth year to show up and be this good, still on his rookie contract. That's insane. 26
Yeah,
points
man.
per game, man. Almost
Yeah,
27, actually.
basically 27. Yeah,
Yeah,
and basically 7 assists and 6 rebounds.
crazy.
Having fantastic splits. I'd like to see him get a little more efficient, but hey, you can't argue when they're winning as many games as they are. They're 18-10 against teams that are 500 and better. And honestly, I think Coach Taylor Jenkins is like a guy who should be considered for Coach of the Year,
Yeah.
like no doubt. Like I don't know who else you'd consider there, maybe Spoelstra, but I like the story of Taylor Jenkins more, and I think voters probably do too.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's the Cavs success that can be fit into the Coach of the Year, but
That's true.
JB Bickerstaff has done a great job. However, let's look at like the other guy. I mean, I'd say this is the first full season that you get a really healthy, an actual healthy Triple J. Jaren Jackson.
not just that, but he has played more games than anyone on the roster this year,
which is insane. And now that I'm thinking about it, like the Grizzlies, Ja had that injury where he was out for like a month too, and they just still kept it up. Like it's not just Ja. Like Dylan Brooks, we were talking about his defense before the season. We didn't think it was going to be good enough, but it is. It's really good, and of course, his
Desmond
3-point
Bane
shooting
has been amazing.
Desmond Bane, or he's a candidate for most improved this season. He's definitely shooting the lights out. But
42% of threes.
42.
On 7 per game.
Yeah, that's 17 points per game. Yeah, he's doing insane. He's awesome. He's definitely shown that he was a great piece.
No doubt.
I mean, I was looking down the roster and I was like, just the depth. Like this team fits so well together. Like they had a problem with rebounding. Jaren Jackson's not the best rebounder. He's a good shot blocker, good defensive player. He's starting to get a consistent shot. That's what he was drafted on, is spreading the floor, and he just takes him a little while. And he can hit that three. It just needs to do it at a better clip. But Steven Adams, like we talked, I know you weren't big on him going to the Grizzlies. I was. I like this, and he really fits next to Ja. Like what they really wanted when they went out, which I didn't see at the time.
He's improved their defense a lot. So I mean, I can't argue with that at this point. Like offensively, I was just, at the time I was like, you're losing a lot by giving up Jonas Valanciunas for Steven Adams. And, I was totally still correct on that, but I was wrong in that it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't matter because the defense was more valuable. You got other guys that can score. You didn't need that as much from your center position.
Yeah, they needed their center to fit a role, and Steven Adams, all things like one of the best offensive abilities he has. He's one of the best pick and roll partners guard like Jock.
He's one of the best screen setters, probably the best screen setter in the league.
Strongest guy in the NBA too, and one of the best offensive rebounders. I think he's second or third in the league right now. He's insane. I mean, he's the reason why they lead the NBA in offensive rebounds.
I mean, he's contributing a lot to that. Yeah, if you want to go through the stats here, I mean, they rank first in field goal attempts and in offensive rebounds and total rebounds and steals and blocks. And they're also top 3 for points, free throw attempts, 2-point attempts made, and field goals made. They are rocking it on all cylinders because they are cohesive as a team and they're fucking locked in. They've got guys on both ends of the ball.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, both ends. They got one of the best two-way teams. This is really like a team that's mostly homegrown too, aside from obviously Steven Adams, but it's a mostly homegrown team.
Yeah, but like it's not like they were bringing in a superstar by getting for Steven Adams. So I would, kudos to them for making that move. A lot of them, including myself, argued that was not a great move at the time, that trade overall. But it's looking like it was a very solid one. And they've got a great group of guys here on both sides of the ball. Like you said, homegrown. I mean, DeAnthony Melton is a guy they drafted under the radar. Brandon Clark is another guy who is always exciting when he's on the court.
Great 6-man to have.
Yeah, great 6-man. Just a lot of depth on this team. Very young, and they're in a position where they're just kind of like they're like the Celtics a couple years ago when they made it to the conference finals almost. Like we'll see if they did. We'll see if the Grizzlies do it. But like they're kind of like that team, and they're so young that they're further than they're supposed to be. So this is so young, this is so fun. But it's like, man, we could really do this maybe.
No, yeah. Definitely. Like I can see them making to the conference finals. But before I get into how far they'll go, I just to talk on their depth is I was looking at that Kyle Anderson's their 7th or 8th guy on the roster and Kyle Anderson could be a starter on any other NBA team. Their depth goes down so far, which makes you think if they don't make it as far as they want as they can, and they think that they can go out and get a star like trade for a Bradley Beal. Not saying these exact players, but a wing on the star like Zach LaVine, Bradley Beal, that type of player out there that might be available. I think that would be very beneficial to them. Instantly make them a instant contender in most people's minds if this offseason, if that were to happen. But maybe they don't need to make a move. I mean,
they're already a contender, my man.
yeah. Well, I'd say they're a dark horse. A lot of people don't want to say they're a contender because of how young they are, because this is their first season of success.
Yeah, but like the only other teams you would take over them in the East right now are the Suns and the Warriors. So like, how are they not a contender?
I mean, I still really like the Jazz. I can certainly if it was in a playoff series,
I can see that argument.
Over the Grizzlies.
No, for sure, I can definitely see it there. But same thing. Why can't we have 4 contenders in the East?
I get. I mean that's really like the cutoff, right?
Or the West. I mean,
it's usually
like 4.
Yeah, but that's usually the cutoff. Is like you can only imagine really 4 contenders in each.
No, it's like the top half. Yeah.
Yeah, I
it's
think
not always the top half.
No.
Sometimes those 4 are split out other ways, but we are in a time right now where there's more parity than ever. Everybody last year had the Lakers and Nets locked in for the finals, and look at where those teams are right now.
Yeah, Nets are in 8th. Lakers are 4 or 5 games under 500. It's insane.
Yes.
But I do think these guys could be a dark horse for the Western Conference Finals. I think the Suns would give them the most trouble. I do think they're going to have troubles handling bigs. I think their perimeter can hold up, but if they get a guy like Rudy Gobert, I think it's going to be hard. I think they certainly have the lineups to take Rudy Gobert off the court, as it's proven that if you play a small ball lineup and everyone can shoot, he's not the best perimeter defender. You can get him off the court, and that's kind of been their Achilles, the Jazz's Achilles heel going forward. But I think the Suns are so scary for them. I think if they can get if the Suns keep that first, I think they're going to want to hang around 2 or 3 as they are, and I think they're going to be great. I think they're going to be fine if they stick around there. I think they can make it to the conference finals. If they have to meet the Suns beforehand, I mean, it's an early season for them. I don't think they can beat the Suns.
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure we see these Grizzlies winning the first round. I think anything beyond that, they could get knocked out. Who knows? It depends on the matchup. I would love to see them get to the conference finals. And I think if they face up against either the Suns or the Warriors, they're going to have troubles just in a 7-game series. But they beat the Warriors in a 1-game series last year. The Suns have some vulnerabilities, but not many, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I think it'll be a fun playoffs, though. I think this is an exciting team to watch, where John Morant is the type of guy where he's going to put up 50 in a playoff game, and it's going to be exciting, man.
Yeah, what a great way. I mean, who knew that last year we'd be talking about the Suns and the Grizzlies?
Yeah. Right, so exactly.
I've heard before that if they're out there, they're like, oh, we got to make conference finals. Like people think, a lot of people on ESPN, they're like, they got to go that far. I see it as house money. They didn't think they're going to be this good. They're like, they still have so many assets. If they want to make a trade, they can. They have the most expensive guy on the roster is Steven Adams, making $17 million a year. I mean, they have nothing but flexibility. Granted, Ja's extension is going to kick in, and Triple J signed an extension, right?
Yeah, he signed his extension. It was pretty big money, at least 120 million. I think they're definitely playing with house money this year. You can see that in the fact that they didn't make a big trade at the deadline. I think if they thought like, oh, we got to go for it this year, you would have saw a move like that. But they want these guys to grow. They traded for Zaire Smith this year, right? Or Williams? I can't remember. Zaire Williams, yes. They traded for Zaire Williams this year, a young guy. They want to develop him. They want to develop a guy like Desmond Bane. You're seeing how much it pays off in just his second year here. I mean, imagine where a guy like that is going to be 3 years from now. I mean, somehow fucking better. That's what it looks like. For this year, though, they have the 10th easiest schedule remaining for the regular season. I think that bodes very well for them to hold on to a top 3 seed with Chris Paul being injured for the number 1 seed Suns. So buckle up, baby.
Yeah, I think they could easily slip into the first seed, and that would be awesome for them. That'd be facing a team like the Jazz, which, like I said, could be done. But I think if they wanted a matchup with the Jazz, Suns, or Warriors, I think the Jazz is the one they want to pick first, and then go from there. Obviously, the Suns is the one they don't want to see. That's the brick wall that they don't want to meet early in the playoffs. So I think that's certainly going to play into how they rest their players for the rest of the season, if they do at all.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know how much resting is going to happen. They are a young squad, but obviously injury prone too. So it's probably going to be a good, wise decision to rest them some days as well.
Right.
We're going to move on. That was an awesome talk about the Memphis Grizzlies and their playoff odds. But now we're going to talk about a recent move that the number 8 seeded Brooklyn Nets made. They added Goran Dragic, who is obviously a great player. I actually played a couple of his first 3 seasons with the Phoenix Suns next to his new head coach, Steve Nash, back when Steve Nash was the star for the Phoenix Suns. Now he is 35? 36?
Yeah. Some older, like some
old.
Older
He's like old as shit. He's a backup point guard, but the older you get, the wiser you get. He's got 35, 36 years of wisdom. And guess what? That wisdom also comes with skill. I mean, this man is still averaged 13 points per game last year. He
starting point guard for the finals, for that finals run the Heat made.
Yeah, he was a starting point guard for the finals that year. This team, they needed a 3-and-D guard. Like, this makes sense. I mean, it's just like annoying that the Nets get him, but I guess who cares now, because are they the super team they were before? Not really. So I don't hate them as much.
Yeah, I don't hate them as much. I mean, it looks like New York is taking down that vaccine mandate, so Kyrie will probably play for most of the games in the playoffs. I know.
Yeah, you're right. I do hate the Nets because they have Kyrie.
Yeah. But no, Goran's a great addition. I obviously wanted the Bucks to pick him up. I thought he would have been a perfect fit for the Bucks. He's a nice fit for the Nets. He's a really nice team defender when it comes to. He's not the best on-ball defender, but when it comes to defense, he's a nice team defender. Always had his defensive rating around 108, 107, 106, somewhere in that range throughout his career. He's been a decent. Obviously, he's a great passer, great playmaker.
Good defensive teams with the Heat.
Right.
So, I mean, that helps.
Yeah. And to finish out to get their seeds that seed up, they don't want to finish the season as an 8th seed. I think he's going to be a great step in for when Kyrie can't play. So that's going to be a really nice fit. It's a great fit next to Patty Mills, who's obviously going to play lots of minutes for them.
Yeah, those two, I mean, a couple of really solid players who they aren't that far past their prime. They're going to give that team some solid playoff minutes.
Oh yeah. And honestly, I think I'm more scared of the Nets now than when they had Harden, because before I was like, oh yeah, just one of them gets injured, it's done, and one of them probably would get injured. Granted, that's still a liability, but now you look at them and they're one of the deepest teams in the East. I mean,
things are lining up.
Things
are lining up too much for the Nets, and Kyrie Irving is, going to feel vindicated that he won in this situation. And then Ben Simmons is going to feel vindicated that he won in his situation. And KD, he'll get a ring and feel like he's vindicated and he won in this situation. So it's I don't know. I don't have an easy time cheering for this team. I actually am more of a KD fan these days than I was before, just because I think he's so dorky. It's funny. Um, but like, there's a lot of unlikable guys on this team.
Yeah, he does. I really liked him when he was with the Golden State Warriors, but after watching him long, like he's not much of a. I mean, he's a very competitive player. I can't find the word right now. He does. He's not a whiner, but he does complain a lot, and he's more of a sensitive player when it comes to media, just
He's
like
so
Kyrie.
passive aggressive.
Like, yeah, and I'm not much on that, but I do like KD. I think they can get out of that 8th seed. I think they're going to get up there. I don't know if they can make a top 4 with 22, 23 games left. They could get up there, but I don't see the Bulls slowing down. I don't see the Bucks. The Cavs maybe, but I don't think they're going to drop that far.
I mean, the Nets would have to surge, which, I mean, if they win a bunch of games in a row, who knows? But they're pretty far back right now because, I mean, they lost like 11 games in a row.
Yeah, 11 games in a row. But, hey, I mean, I'm excited. I think it's going to be the one of most entertaining playoff series if they face the 76ers, which the NBA is going to make happen no matter what. They're like, the 76ers are going to have a series with the Nets.
No doubt.
So
just in terms of like,
crazy.
That series, like, there's so much history there. But if you face the Heat, there's more history too with Goran.
Mm-hmm.
KD and PJ Tucker are buddies. They've gone at it before.
Yep.
I love the matchup of Kyle Lowry versus Kyrie Irving, and then also versus Goran Dragic. I think like that could be a really fun series.
I would love to see that series only because I love watching good defense. It's one of my favorite things to watch in the NBA. And what I would love to see that team, Bam, Jimmy, put it all together and see how they defend a team like the Nets. Because like obviously the Nets are one of the hardest teams to defend in the NBA when fully healthy. So that'd be something crazy to see.
Oh, the Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler connection too.
Yeah. Right, love to see what Eric Spoelstra writes up for that matchup, but scary team. Even getting scarier, I guess.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the East keeps getting stronger. We get to see it because like basically all of our basketball watching career, it's always been, oh, the West is so much better than the East. Oh, it's just so much better. But now the East is like, they got a lot of star power.
Yeah. They're the powerhouse now. Is they've got those 5 contenders, and they're real. They're anybody. I think most people have them as the favorites. A lot of people do lean on the Suns, which is very, very vindicated. That's very possible. I don't know if the Warriors can do it this season. Next season, I think, is more like their stage. Grizzlies, we just talked about, they have a possibility, but I think 5 teams in the West, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it to the finals or won. So
the Warriors are my pick right now out of the West. Out of the East, I think I've got the Bucks, but I wouldn't be surprised with any team out of the East, to be honest. There's some good fringe teams. Right now we've got the Boston Celtics surging right as well. They're 34-25.
Yeah.
I just listened. JJ Redick had Jayson Tatum on his podcast this week. God, you gotta listen to that. That was fantastic.
I haven't heard that. I love both Chris Paul episodes because I just watched I watched the other one. I was on a work trip, and then the second one I just watched. It's like I love listening to Chris Paul talk about the NBA, but
it's so interesting. I mean, even Jayson Tatum, a guy who is a lot younger, he's only 23. His perspective is interesting because like he made it to the conference final so early. He even comments like, I thought, it was just always going to be like that. Like it was so easy. It's like, it's interesting hearing him say that, but then he also says like, oh, I'm 5 years in, I've got 15 years left max or whatever, you got to assume. So he's like, I'm running out of time to get that championship. I got to get it going. Yeah. Or he's like, I haven't gotten an MVP yet or whatever. So he's like, he looks at himself with like disappointment sometimes.
Yeah. And I don't think it was part of that podcast, but he did say something how he thinks Jaylen Brown is wing partner. is one of the best players in the league. And I think that was really refreshing
Yeah.
to hear, to kind of shut down I still think it was a little redundant but at this point, it's easier to find a primary playmaker than it is to split those two up. They have a point. Yeah.
It's harder to find star talent. Yeah, no, he was answering questions about that. He was just kind of saying like, I wish people would stop trying to break us up or whatever, because like, he's a baller and like we do well together. And like he was saying, Jayson Tatum had a really fast start coming into the league. Like he was basically a star immediately, his trajectory at least. And then Jaylen Brown took a little bit more seasoning to get around to who he was now. And he was just saying like, yeah, I mean, we always knew that was there. It was just, coming out further and further.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I'll have to watch that one. But one other team in the East that's getting a lot of media attention, especially from Stephen A, is the Knicks. They've had big expectations for themselves. They were playing with house money last year. They made a big surge in the playoffs. They're one of the most entertaining series last year was the Hawks versus the Knicks. And they've just kind of fizzled out this year. They're not in the playoffs. Will they make the playoffs is the question. What do you think?
Well, they've got the 15th hardest schedule, or you could say 15th easiest schedule. So I'd say that's kind of a wash. It's kind of fairly non-significant. But if you're the Knicks, you want to face any bad team you can right now because you're terrible. But they're 25-34 at this point. The All-Star break could not have come soon enough, because they were fresh off of like 3 terribly blown games. People are calling for Tom Thibodeau to be fired because like they just like have no patience here now, especially for Thibodeau. Like, to be fair, he doesn't deserve patience at this point. It's his 3rd head coaching job, like this, and it's in New York. Like the leash is short. In terms of making the playoffs, they're currently 3.5 games behind the Hawks, who they had that great series against. They're 3.5 games behind them for the 10th spot, the play-in. So things are bleak right now, and I just don't see it happening unless like someone shows out that hasn't been, these new lineups that Tom is gonna pull out if they actually do something. But when has Tom like shown that he's willing to change?
No, I think a coaching change would be needed, but I think we're seeing this is the long run. This is the long results of interrupting their rebuild and trading away Kristaps Porzingis. Not saying he would have been the answer, but they lost a lot of years of development, and they're not enough right now. Their best player is Julius Randle, it was obvious last year he couldn't be a number one. Granted, it was nice for the success, but they couldn't get a number one scoring option in the offseason. Who's going to be the number one scoring option now? I mean, they made some on paper some nice moves, getting Kemba,
who they've now shut down for the season.
Yep. Derrick Rose is also coming back from injury. He helped them when he played. He's 6th man of the year candidate now at this point, and every time he gets on the floor. However, and that was really nice.
At this point, they're looking forward to D Rose coming back. That is what they're hoping it gets them into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, and he's definitely going to help them. Obviously he won't be enough because RJ Barrett has made a big jump. Granted, he's the only upward trajectory. I mean, everyone had high potential for Mitchell Robinson. I did. I thought he was great. He was an awesome shot blocker, but he's still, even this far into his tenure in the NBA, he's still struggling staying on the floor with foul trouble. It's just something he's never been able to work out. So Nerlens Noel got a resurgence, and he's just not good enough to be a starting center. So it's hard. It's hard, Where do you go from here if you're the Knicks?
Yeah, Yvonne Fournier, terrible this year. He signed a big contract to join them. They didn't have many options in free agency. Unfortunately, like everybody seems to act like, oh, everyone wants to go to New York. Every year they always say like there's a possibility someone's going to go to New York. They never get anybody. Like even right now, they're talking about, is Zion going to force his way there? They've already got Cam Reddish. They've got RJ Barrett. Zion, he's never been more excited than when they asked him about playing in Madison Square Garden before the draft. But look, no one has ever willingly gone to the Knicks unless they were past their prime, or they got paid too much. Like their best player they've added most recently, it was Carmelo Anthony, and he was great for a few seasons, like 3 years. He signed a horrible extension. I have no idea why they offered it. They had signed Amari Stoudemire before that, who had one season where he was looking like an MVP. And after that, he hit a wall. But the point is, the Knicks fucking suck, and they're not making the playoffs because they're 14-22 in the East. They're 13-17 at home. They deserve all the boos. Julius Randle can give thumbs down all he wants, but he's the one that needs to put up or shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think the organization's asking him to be way more than the player he was ever supposed to be, nor can he ever get up there. They're asking him to do so much, and he's just not that guy. I think obviously they took a big hit they just haven't drafted right as of late. I mean, Emmanuel quickly was a really nice pickup.
When have they ever drafted right?
But yeah, so Obi Toppin was the wrong choice. They could have got Cole Anthony. Not saying Cole Anthony would be the difference maker, but certainly he would be better than no one right now. So
the Obi Toppin pick made no sense because they had already had like 6 power forwards on their roster.
Yeah.
And, there was plenty of talent available at the guard position in the draft where you didn't need to take Obi Toppin.
Yeah, and they obviously needed shooters. It was just a dumb pick. And I think, honestly, Knicks fans don't want to hear, but I think a rebuild is the best thing for you. It's not rebuild because you're not rebuilding anything. It's not there.
Yeah. You don't have anything. All you have is RJ. Like, what else do you have of value? Like Julius Randle, you were hoping of value, but now he's getting paid big money and he's not trying. He clearly does not belong in New York. He's ready to move on. What do you have, New York? Tell us in the comments and subscribe. Strictly Ball Business.
yeah, they're gonna love that.
Fucking 3 blown leads in a row, and they think we're gonna talk about them making the playoffs. You guys should. I would think any sensible. Is it sensible or sense? Yeah, sensible. New York Knicks fan. They should want this team to tank out the rest of the year, just try and get someone of value in the draft. Because you're not doing shit if you get in the playoffs anyways. It's just going to be a sweep. And you're going to fill up MSG just to watch yourselves get swept. That doesn't sound fun.
No, yeah. You don't want your ass kicked by the
fire
Bulls.
Tom.
Exactly.
Yeah, they get their ass kicked by the Bulls. Wrap it up, fire Tom, and move on.
Yeah, I mean, their best case scenario would look the worst. If they made the 7th seed throughout the play-in, then they have to face the Cavs, and they get swept by the Cavs, and a team that's firstly in the playoffs since LeBron left. So I was like, I don't know if that's probably not a good idea for you guys. I think this is a really nice draft. I think they should not tank the rest of the year, but I think they should have traded an asset away. I think there's no need to hold on. Obviously, nobody's going to take Fournier's contract at this point, unless they held on to a bad contract. Not that I don't think Fournier is a bad player. I just think they're misusing him. They're just like, hey, catch and shoot guy. Yeah. I think he's a lot. I think he's misusing players.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, but I don't know. Well, hopefully they get in the draft. Maybe they'll get far in the lottery. It's happened before. I mean, I hope.
What were they thinking trading a 1st-round pick for Cam Reddish? And now they have had no interest in playing him since day one.
That's Tom Thibodeau. I didn't think that was the worst thing in the world. Cam Reddish, I really do see him as a nice player. I think it'll free up some space. Hopefully they free up some roster space for him this offseason because he deserves minutes. He had it started off really hot this year. Showed a lot of flashes last year. I think as a 10th pick, I think he has still potential that's out there, especially playing next to RJ Barrett. I think it's possible. It's possible for him to turn into something more. Obi Toppin, I haven't seen it yet. He won the dunk contest. I think maybe that's what they've been playing for the last 4 years.
That's the thing. We all knew Obi was a good dunker.
That's about it.
That was no surprise. But he's got hardly any skills. Yeah, he's an athletic big who can get up, but he didn't do anything at Ohio State other than, alley oop and get a few rebounds.
Right. I think that's enough for the Knicks. I think let's get into some positive. Like who? All right, so let's look at the league as a whole. Who's some of the most underrated big men in the league right now that not many people talk about? Who do you think?
I got three people that I thought were worth mentioning. Anyone else, I think everyone's talking about, or they're just not that good. I'll give maybe a couple on the edge here with short description, but my top three, it's Kem Birch, Darius Baisley, and Jakob Poeltl. I think Jakob Poeltl for sure is like everyone's darling in the underground big men days because his per 36, man, he's got 16 points per game, 11.4 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks. His real stats is 13 and 9 with 1.2 blocks, so not shabby at all. But I mean, he's only 26, and I think this guy's got a ton of potential.
Yeah, he made my list. I think great. He's really efficient around the basket too. That's one thing that was there. But I think he's definitely in the, if not the most underrated big man. I think he's great. I think the Spurs have something nice there. I don't think he's going to peak out as like a star or anything. However, he doesn't need to be. I think put him on any team and they're instantly better, depending upon who they have as big already. But yeah, like he's not gonna. He's a huge plus player.
Yeah, no, I mean most teams that like need a big like him, like they're not expecting him to come in and be like a star. He would be filling a hole, and like he would be filling that hole in such a great way. I could see this guy becoming a top 10 center in this league, no doubt.
Wow,
I mean, there's not a whole lot of like, I feel like that wouldn't be hard to get to in a couple of years. He's got the talent.
Yeah, I mean, it could certainly happen. But another guy you mentioned, I love Kem Birch. Obviously, he played for my Magic, and Kem Birch is just that grit, effort type player. He'll do whatever you need. He's coach's best friend. He's awesome to watch play. Darius Baisley, lots of talent, very young. I'd like to see more of him. Just super inefficient right now, but he's exciting to watch. Actually, a few of the guys I had, we talked about Steven Adams. He's not talked about that much. We talked everything about his pick and roll to defense to offensive rebounding. He's a guy that gets down there. He'll do all the hard work. Strongest guy in the NBA. He's great. He has a very specific role that he's fitting where he is. Mason Plumlee. I don't think he's the best. I don't think he's a good starting center, but certainly a really underrated big. I mean, he's a nice rebounder, nice playmaker. I think he fits a role. I don't think it's where he is, but he would certainly be great somewhere else. So not on the contract he is, but I think he is underrated. Dwight Powell, just a grindstone type of player. He's a hard worker, does exactly what you need him to do. Can starting to spread the floor a bit, but he's benefited a lot from Luka Doncic too. But I think he's awesome. I think he's nice to have. Certainly good for interior defense. And
Hassan and Kleba are both good. Maxey shoots three a little bit. They're different styles of bigs.
Two
one's polar a little clunkier than the other, but
Right. And then my last guy is, I think, Hassan Whiteside at this point in his career. I think he is an underrated like backup big. I think he's the best backup big in the league currently. He's able to step up and he can fill those. It's him and Andre Drummond, which people might think is a little unfair, but this is the role they were both supposed to play. They were never supposed to be that starting center or that star center, neither one. And they're both filling the roles that they have to lead, and they're gonna do great on the teams they are. I mean, Drummond, we haven't seen enough with the Nets, but from what we've seen with the 76ers, he's been great. Hassan's been great for the Jazz. He's helped them out a lot. Rudy missed a lot of time, and the Jazz was still able to keep up their wins. So I think he's done very well for them.
Yeah, no doubt. It's interesting with players like that where they had so much success as starters for, even a short period where their perception was different. And so when they fall off of that, people just assume that they're garbage and that they can't provide anything. But truth is, like, they're very solid role players now coming off the bench, and they're willing to accept that role. It's just like how Carmelo Anthony was a star in this league forever, and then he fell out of it for a bit, but he came back and he's a good role player now. if you're willing to, accept who you are, the perception of you can change a lot, which is why I'm announcing a PSA for Russell Westbrook to finally get his shit together and realize you're not a star anymore, buddy. This was a conversation about big man, but guess what, Russell Westbrook? It's time for you to grow up and become a big man yourself.
Has the skill set of a big man. Maybe obviously a better playmaker, but
the mentality of one. Yeah, he acts like he's a big man. He's clunky like one. He's got the ball handling skills of one.
Yeah, Bob the Builder, tossing bricks around. Yeah, I think a lot of those guys are great. Obviously, Portal's the standout for us. I think he's a great fit. He needs to in the team he is. I'm excited to see what the Spurs do. Could they replace him? Yeah, there's a lot of bigs if they fall in the draft that he could get replaced with. That only means that he could move to a team where he can help a team win now. Like the Warriors, I think would be really nice to see him on. I don't think the contracts would work. That would help out a lot. I think. Yeah, I mean, just about any team would love to have him. I mean, he's not a floor spacer, but he does everything else you need a big to do, and I think that's totally okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think like any team would love to get him for the most part. I mean, I could see him fitting well on the Timberwolves for one, on the Trailblazers. I think that would make a lot of sense. Awesome. I think, he's a great player. He's young. I think the Spurs should honestly keep him. But you never know if you do find someone decent in the draft, and
if you get Chet,
you want to give that guy minutes. Like it's a different story,
right? You get Chet, you get some other guy like Paolo, or we'll see. We'll see who they do. Victor Wembanyama's the 2 years down the road. They're certainly on track to maybe pick him up. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean the Spurs, they're like always too good to get the 1 seed or the 1 pick, so we'll see. But overall, best under the big men or best under the radar big men in the NBA. Jakob Poeltl, like you said, I think he's our number one. Another guy I want to give a shout out to is Thaddeus Young. He was on the San Antonio Spurs for a second. Now he's with the Toronto Raptors, ready to help them out for a playoff run. Yeah, I think a lot of these veteran players people forget about because they get so excited with the shiny new toys, every time we get a new draft around.
Right.
These guys, they deserve some flowers.
Yeah. Who do you guys think are the best underrated big men in the league? Put comment below. Let's hear them. I'm curious who you guys find. They're everywhere, all over these big men are hard workers, and it's nice to shout them out to see who they are. They're really nice role players. So comment below. Let us know.
No doubt. That's going to be it for us today, guys. We went over some really fun topics, and we're going to have videos for each of them for you to check out. Make sure to subscribe. We are Strictly Ball Business. Alec here and Dalton over there. And, we love you. So give us any comments on our videos. If you want to start the conversation going, we always love to reply. So hope to see you soon. And Dalton, you got anything else that you want to add?
No.
All right, guys. We'll see you. Hey, guys, be sure to like and subscribe us. We're Strictly Ball Business. We strictly talk NBA. We love it. You love it. So let's get above it.